Hello, everybody. What is going on? And welcome back to another episode of Seahawks Now, your home for all things daily Seattle Seahawks news, rumors, and updates, guys. Today, we have some very interesting things to talk about. But before we begin, I want to make sure you all subscribe to the channel right down below. We are almost up to 50 subscribers as we continue the climb. We're in week 2 of this channel, so thank you all so much for the continuing support. It really helps to see the growth of the channel. And if you don't want to miss another breaking news alert about your favorite team, the Seattle Seahawks, then hit the bell for notifications. You know you want to. All right, let's begin, guys. We have some interesting rumors about the offensive line, and I want to address those. And then I also want to talk about a potential trade candidate at quarterback that has been brought up by none other than 710 ESPN Seattle's own Michael Bumpus. But let's start with the O-line. ESPN Insider says the offensive line should be the Seahawks' top priority. So the background is every offseason ESPN puts out a piece which basically is what each team needs to do to improve over the offseason. And it gives each team one area where they can improve for the offseason. For the Seahawks, they listed the offensive line, and they said specifically, this is the quote, according to Brady Henderson of ESPN, the Seahawks will need a new left guard and at least one upgrade at another interior spot, writes Henderson. Geno Smith had too much of the offense on his shoulders and not enough help carrying it. That, I think, is interesting that he says it that way. He says Geno Smith had too much of the offense on his shoulders, not enough help carrying it. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that because the reality is, Geno Smith, he had good running backs, he had good wide receivers, he had a good tight end. The only problem with the offense was the line. So the idea that Geno was carrying it all himself, I think that's a little bit of a reactionary thing to say, considering that this is a team with DK Metcalf, this is a team with Kenneth Walker, this is a team with Zach Charbonnet, this is a team with Jackson Smith-Njigba, still a team with Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant. Good players, right? There's good players on this offensive line. There's good players on the offense outside of the offensive line. Now, I agree. The O-line should be a priority, but I'm not sure if I agree with Henderson saying that Geno carried it on his shoulders. I think Geno did a good job this year, but I think if you want to talk about carried on their shoulders, you got to talk about your skill position guys, specifically your running backs and your receivers. I think they carried the offense on their shoulders. Geno, who was solid, but I wouldn't put it that way. I do agree, though. They need to upgrade the offensive line, and it feels like they've kind of been bargain bin shopping for a while now. For about the past 10 years, they just haven't been able to commit to paying offensive linemen. Top offensive linemen haven't been in Seattle. And for whatever reason, whether it's John Schneider who is making that call, or whether maybe they want to, but they just never have room in the budget, I'm not so sure what the problem is. But yeah, it feels like every year they're looking to upgrade the line. And so, yeah, I agree with Brady Henderson there. The Seahawks do need to upgrade. They need to upgrade the interior. They probably all do need a new left guard. They can do that in the draft. They could also address it in free agency, and that's where we bring in our next rumors. Colts center Ryan Kelly could be a free agent option. If you follow the Seahawks, you know that center has been probably the toughest position for this team to get right ever since they traded away Max Unger in a pretty fateful trade that sent Max Unger to the Saints for Jimmy Graham. The Seahawks have really struggled to find a replacement for him at the critical position of center. And yeah, I think Ryan Kelly, he's definitely an intriguing offer. I'm not sure if John Schneider would really go there, though. You look at Ryan Kelly, he's been on the Colts since 2016. His whole career, 9 seasons with the Colts. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He was All-Pro in 2020 when he started 15 games and put up an approximate value score of 11. If you guys don't know, approximate value, that is the score that basically attempts to give each player a quantifiable number to show how much they were worth that season. If you know baseball, approximate value is like the NFL's version of WAR. So a good approximate value is considered to be around 8. 8 or 9 is considered Pro Bowl level. His best season he was at 11. That was in 2020. But even in 2023, he had an approximate value of 7. He was a Pro Bowler at the age of 30. He started 14 games. Last year, though, he took a little bit of a step back. He only started 10 games, and he had an approximate value of just about 4. So definitely took a bit of a step back, but he missed some time with injury. He didn't play from November 3rd until December 22nd. So he missed a 7-game stretch because he was hurt. And when he did play, the Colts were 5-5. So it's not like he had a massive impact, but they were better with him than without him. The big question would be, would the Seahawks be willing to pay for a guy who's a 4-time All-Pro? Because, yeah, even if he took a bit of a step back and he got hurt, this is still a 4-time Pro Bowler. This guy's no joke. He's a good player. And I struggle to see this scenario where John Schneider's going to commit serious money to an offensive lineman, even if it is at a position of need, even if it is at a critical position in that. But John Schneider's voiced it many times. He doesn't think it's worth it to pay offensive linemen. All right, guys, I want to get into the final rumor of today's video. Joe Milton III, he could be an intriguing trade option for the Seahawks, according to Michael Bumpus on ESPN Seattle Sports Radio, 7:10 a.m., my favorite radio station. I'm sure you guys are aware. Michael Bumpus says Joe Milton could be an intriguing, potentially future Seahawks backup quarterback. There are reports coming out of New England that Joe Milton III has been gaining a lot of traction in trade talks because, yeah, it's a very weak quarterback class this year, and Milton definitely displayed some potential skills. Definitely he's a project guy, and Michael Bumpus said as much on the radio. He said, look, it's a project guy, but we've seen players drafted late in the draft turn out fine after years of progression. So could this be the type of player the Seahawks would target? It's possible. We're going to pull up the stats in a minute. But yeah, Joe Milton III, it's a weak quarterback class. He was taken in the 6th round, which was considered a bit low. I think people thought he'd go maybe 4th or 5th round. Ended up going 6th round to the Patriots. But of course, the Patriots already have their quarterback of the future in Drake May, so they don't need Joe Milton. And I think they could potentially trade him and get a 5th or 4th round pick back for him because he does have some value. If you look at the numbers, look at the 2023 numbers. That was his senior year at Tennessee. And then 2024 was in New England. He only started 1 game for the Patriots in 2024. It was week 18. And he did get a win. It was against the Bills. But to be fair, it was against the Bills' backups. So hard to take away that much. But if you look at that game in 2024, he did put on a show. 76% completion, 111.4 passer rating, 2 total touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 on the ground, and 257 yards. So he had a good game. And of course, he did win his only start. He also played really well in the preseason, though. I mean, there was legitimately buzz about could Joe Milton challenge Drake May for the starting job. That's how good he played in the preseason. If you look at 2023, those are good numbers. I mean, 3,118 total yards, 27 total touchdowns, 147.3 passer rating. The one thing I would, potentially look at as a warning flag is a 64.7% completion. A lot of times in college, I'm looking for a guy who can complete over 65% of his throws, because if you can complete 65% in college, that usually translates to at least like 62% in the NFL. If you're below 65% in college, I kind of get worried. But to be fair, he was playing against the SEC, and those are no jokes of numbers for an SEC school, playing against really tough defenses. He was going up against Georgia, Bama, LSU, and he still put up very good numbers. So yeah, is that a possibility? Yeah, totally. The question, I guess, would be, would it be better to have him or to have Sam Howell? And I actually think I would probably stick with Sam Howell just for a couple reasons. First off, Sam Howell, he has the continuity, right? He already knows the playbook, he already knows the system, and he already knows Coach Mike McDonald. But also, I think I would lean towards keeping Howell just because Howell does have a little bit more experience. Howell did start for a full season, so I think I'd be a little more comfortable with a guy who has more experience starting under his belt than a Joe Milton. But I do see where Michael Bumpus' head is at, because Milton is a great dual threat quarterback. And yeah, he's definitely a project, but you never know what could happen in this day and age. All right, guys, that wraps up everything for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed the content. Comment down below. Let me know. Do you think that the Seahawks should try to swing a trade for Joe Milton, or if they should try to acquire Ryan Kelly? Do you think they would try to acquire Ryan Kelly? Even if you think they should, I don't know if they would. But that all being said, guys, I'll see you tomorrow, and as always, go Seahawks.